Good afternoon, dear students, and welcome to Agrawal Vidya Vihar Digital Classroom. I, Professor Shaurya Shah, welcome to the class of Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2. As you all know, students, in the last lecture we discussed about the syllabus of Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2. We also saw a brief introduction of the chapter of company liquidation, that is liquidator's account. Today, I hope you all must have remembered those conditions regarding liquidator's account. Today we'll be again continuing with the same part, and today we'll be solving the sums also regarding the same. So I urge you to be constantly attentive and remember the points which we are going to discuss, and at the end of the lecture we'll be writing down sums. Fine. So in the last lecture we concluded on this part, and our today's lecture is also based on this points only. So the very first, I need to just brush your knowledge what we gained in last lecture. These are the disbursements made by the liquidator in the following order we saw. The very first is your fully secured creditors. The second is your liquidation expenses, which include your legal charges and liquidator's remuneration. After you pay them, the next is your preferential creditors. Then debenture holders or other creditors who have floating charge on it. Then the next is unsecured creditors. Next paid is preference shareholders and equity shareholders. So very quickly we saw in this last lecture. Now today we'll be continuing from the same. Now each and every head, as I told you, you need to discuss or you need to learn that points. Okay, who are included in fully secured creditors, in what order they will be paid, because in your some students you will be given certain points with amounts and you need to decide and you need to post it in liquidator's statement. I hope it is clear to everyone. Shall we begin? Fine. Now the very first is your fully secured creditors. Now what do you include in your fully secured creditors, students? First of all, you include the items which are paid on the payment side of liquidator's statement account, right? So this is basically, as I told you in the last lecture, from where you will receive the money. First of all, he will sell off the assets and he will receive the money. He will receive the money either from the call from equity shares or preference shares if it is still remaining, and he will receive money from any other sources. So from the money which I have received, I will first pay to fully secured creditors. Fully secured creditors are those creditors to whom specific assets are pledged whose realizable value is equal to or more than the amount of debt are fully secured creditors, right? Fully secure. The name itself tells you that their security is pledged, right? Suppose such creditors are there, if the company closes down, they are having a pledge over certain assets. As you take loan also, students, right? You mortgage some property for the guarantor. If you are unable to pay the loan, then the bank will sell off those assets which are mortgaged, and then you need to pay the money out of that assets. Same concept, students. Here there are creditors which are having pledge over certain assets or company. We will sell those assets, and the money which is received you need to pay to secured creditors. I hope it is clear to everyone, students. Fine. Now the following dues of workers are also included under secured creditors. Now in your sum, we will be continuously looking all these points according to practical aspects only, right, students? Because 14 mark sum will be there, so each and every point will be 1 mark for you. So preferential, that is your secured creditors, the very first thing included in their secured creditors is your all wages or salary, including wages payable for the time work or salary earned by the way of commission, right? So you need to note down these points very quickly, then you need to write it down and learn particularly for the entire sum. So all the wages or salary, including wages payable for time work, are included in your secured creditors. This is the provision which is made by Government of India. Any compensation payable to workmen under Industrial Dispute Act. So very specifically in sums it will be given that a dispute is there which is covered under Industrial Dispute Act. So that we will pay first in secured creditors. The next is all accrued holiday remuneration. If it is given in the sum that all accrued holiday remunerations are there, you need to pay. All amounts due as compensation under Workmen's Compensation Act. Provident fund, pension, gratuity or payment from any other fund maintained by the company for welfare of the workers, right? Learn these points very carefully, students. We will be solving this sum at the end of the lecture. So what is included? Again, very quickly, the very first is all wages or salary payable including your time work or salary earned by way of commission. So first is wages or salary. Second, I can say any compensation payable. Third, holiday remuneration. Fourth, amount due as compensation under Workmen's Compensation Act. And the next is your PF, pension, gratuity or payment. So you need to remember this 5 points under the heading of secured creditors. Apart from that, there will be a common heading known as secured creditors that you need to write down. I hope it is clear, everyone. The first payment sequence. Moving on in the disbursement list, in the beginning of the lecture, we saw the second is your liquidation expenses. Now, for closing down the business, students, we need to pay certain expenses known as liquidation expenses. So, once all the secured creditors are paid, you need to pay the liquidation expenses. Liquidation expenses also includes liquidator's remuneration. Now, as we saw, liquidator is a person who is administering the entire process of liquidation of the company. So he needs to pay, or he needs to receive, either we can say, the remuneration for the things which he have performed. So on the very beginning, after paying secured creditors, we will be paying liquidation expenses and liquidators remuneration. This expenses may include legal charges to close down the business, charges to the auctioneers. Auctioneers are the persons who sell off your assets and conduct an auction. Next is your valuers and cost of notice in newspapers. You need to give notice also, students, in the newspaper that we are closing down the business. That also we can incur the cost. So I hope it is clear. First of all, it is secured creditors. In secured creditors, we have 5 headings plus 1 secured creditor. Then the second point is your liquidation expenses and liquidators remuneration. Just look into the way of a story, students. One by one your sequences will come and you need to pay them. When we'll solve this sum practically, you will be very much clear with that part. But to know theory is very important. So I hope it is clear, every student. Fine. The next is, after paying both of them, you need to pay to preferential creditors. Now the term itself says preferential creditors. The most important theory for your exams also. It comes in 4 marks. What do you mean by preferential creditors? These are the creditors who are having a preference over the payment to the unsecured creditors. Before you pay to unsecured creditors, you need to pay to preferential creditors. Same like your preference shares concept over equity share. What is included in it? You need to remember it very carefully. 5 things. First is amount payable to government payable within last 12 months, right? Any amount which is payable to government, but this amount should be for the last year only. Many a time, students, there will be given in the sum that municipal taxes or any other taxes are due, but these are due before 2 years, before 3 years, so you will not consider it. But if it is given municipal taxes or any taxes is due for the last year or for the past year, then only you can calculate, right? So just remember in mind, any taxes, any government due of last year. Second is salary of an employee. Most important part, salary of an employee, 4 months or actual or 20,000, whichever is less. Whenever you are calculating, now don't get confused, students, between this salary and the salary or the wages which we have seen in your secured creditors. It is a completely different concept. If it is due, then it is for 4 months or actual or 20,000, whichever is less is to be considered. Suppose, for example, if it is given that 25,000 per month is remaining, right? So maximum cap is only 20,000 per month per employee. Is it clear, every student? Fine. Next is accrued holiday remuneration to the employees. Next is contribution to employees state insurance for last 12 month only, right? Here also there is a condition, contribution to employee state insurance, but it should be for last 12 months only, for the last year. And provident fund, gratuity and pension, same, right? So you need to remember this 5 points for preferential creditors. Is it clear everyone? First is your amount payable to government but should be of last 12 months. Second is salary of an employee 4 months or actual or 20,000 whichever is less. Third is accrued holiday remuneration to the employees, contribution to employee state insurance that is also for last 12 months, and provident fund, gratuity, pension, etc. Is it clear? Everyone, make a habit of writing down the points so that you can very clearly understand these concepts. Is it clear? Fine. After paying to the secured creditors, after paying to the liquidators remuneration, liquidation expenses, after paying the preferential creditors, you need to pay to creditors having floating charge. Now floating charge means this creditors having floating charge over all the assets of the company but no charge on any specific asset. What did we see in secured creditors? Suppose I am a debenture holder and I am having a secured pledge over plant and machinery. Then I come under the category of secured creditors. But if I am a debenture holder, I have a pledge over the asset, but I don't know which asset of the company. So they are included under creditors having floating charge. So after you pay to preferential creditors, these persons are to be paid. They rank only after the preferential creditors are paid. For example, debenture holders, right? So for example, you need to pay to debenture holders as they are having a floating charge but not a fixed asset. That is a specific asset for that. I hope it is clear. 4 parties you need to pay. After you pay to all the 4 parties, you need to again reimburse the unsecured creditors. The name itself says they are not secured. Whatever amount after paying to all the above 4 is remaining, you will pay to unsecured creditors. Any surplus left in the hands of liquidator after paying all the above type of creditors will be used in meeting the claims of unsecured creditors. So once a while you have paid to all of them, you need to pay to unsecured creditors. They include ordinary trade creditors, bills payable, unpaid expenses, excess of claims of partly secured creditors over the value of securities, right? So I hope it is clear everyone. So all those remaining creditors which are not coming in above 4 categories will be paid here. The most important among that is excess of claims of partly secured creditors. Many a times it will happen that the secured creditor is of 2 lakh rupees, but the money which you have received from the asset pledge is only 1,50,000. So 50,000 remaining will be paid under this head and 1,50,000 will be paid under secured creditors. I hope it is clear everyone. So clear with the secured creditors, then liquidation expenses, liquidators remuneration, then you need to pay to preferential creditors, then you need to pay to floating charge debenture holders, and then unsecured creditors. Is it clear? Now here 90% of your sum will get completed. The remaining whatever is left out will be paid to family members, that is your preference shareholders and equity shareholders. Whatever is surplus, it is not necessary that they will receive their full money, but whatever is remaining will be first paid to preference shareholders, then if anything is remaining it will be paid to equity shareholders. There are conditions for their payment also, we will see when we do the sum. I hope everyone is clear with this part. Okay, moving ahead, the most important thing, the format for solving the long sums. As we are doing accounts, your 14 mark sums are the most important for scoring above 40 marks in your paper, students. So you need to remember in this entire chapter only this format of your liquidation, right? As you can see on your screens, liquidator statement of receipts and payments. Only this format is most important for solving the points. The entire story starts like this. You have on 2 sides receipts and payment. On the receipt side, the very first thing you are having is your cash and bank balance. This cash and bank balance will be already given to you in the old balance sheet of the company in the sum. From that you will sell out the, again we can say, assets. This will be given in the sum. You must be having various assets like furniture, building, you must be having certain intangible assets. You all will be selling these assets and you will be receiving the money. Whatever money you have received, you will be debiting or you will be writing it on the receipt side. After that, whatever surplus from secured creditors. Now many a time students, information will be given in the sum that secured creditors have sold the asset. Suppose their charge was 2 lakh rupees, you need to pay them. the asset was of 3 lakh rupees. So once they have received 2 lakh, 1 lakh is the excess which they have received. So they will return it to you. So you will write it down on the receipt side. Again, calls on partly paid share. Many a times it will there that equity shares will be partly paid up. Only 8 rupees or 7 rupees will be paid up on entire 10 rupees. So in order to again exercise the entire liquidation process, you will have to pay them and you will have to receive money from them on their remaining calls. So that you will be writing down on the receipt side. So 4 things mainly you need to write down. First is cash and bank balance. Second is surplus from the secured creditors you will receive. Third is from the assets. And the fourth is calls on partly paid shares, right? So I hope everyone is clear with the receipt side. 4 things you need to remember. Now the entire story which we have studied just now in this lecture will be given on the payment side. The very first thing, what do you pay, students? You pay first to secured creditors and the dues to the workers. As I told you, that secured creditors and dues to the worker. Dues to the worker, we saw 5 conditions, that is your salary or the wages which you are having, the accrued remuneration and so on and so far, right? Whatever amount is there will be given in the sum. After paying them, you will pay liquidation expenses. This will also include liquidators' remuneration. Next is preferential creditors. We saw again 5 conditions for preferential creditors which will be given one by one in the sum. Then you are having creditors owing floating charge. We saw debentures. Now many a time students, when you are paying debentures, their interest will also be outstanding because there is no fixed date when your business is going to be liquidated. So from the date of the financial year end to the date of liquidation, your interest must be outstanding. So that interest you need to add up here. Again, on that interest, additional interest will also be given in many of the sums. So that you need to write down here. After you have paid them, you need to pay to unsecured creditors. Unsecured creditors we just now saw, which are not included in any of the above categories, will be paid up here. And the next is your preference shareholders. Again, preference shareholders minus unpaid preference dividend, if any, you will pay here. Then you need to pay whatever is remaining amount in the business, what you have received, you will be paid to equity shareholders. It is not necessary that they will be paid in full, but whatever the remaining balance amount will be shown up here. Is it clear, everyone? Receipts and payment side. Mind well, students, this is your entire 14 marks sum will be put up on all these 11 entries. Is it clear? For each entry you need to do the working that we will see when we will solve the sum. I hope everyone is clear with the concept, right? You need to write down this concept, you need to write down this format for every sum and you need to prepare it. I hope it is clear. I'll provide this format also in the notes format in Google Classroom along with the questions. Is it clear? Fine. Moving on. Now when we are starting with the short sums, first of all, from this chapter one short sum comes for sure and there is one long sum and theory also. So when we are starting with the short sum, there are only 3 types of sums which you see particularly in the paper. Amongst that, the very first type which we are going to do today, that is this kind, that will be related to your payment to unsecured creditors and liquidators remuneration. What is it all about? When amount is insufficient to pay to the unsecured creditor, students, right? So this will always be there in the sum. Now understand the concept first. It is very easy, then we will see it in the short sum. When the liquidator's remuneration is to be calculated as a certain percentage on amount paid to unsecured creditors and the balance is left insufficient to pay unsecured creditors. Now some will be like this, that everyone is paid, the amount left for unsecured creditors and liquidators remuneration is so and so. So you need to pay to both the parties. So in that case, the base to calculate the liquidator's remuneration is not 100, but it is 100 plus certain percentage of remuneration. Just pay attention. Suppose remuneration is 2%. It is very simple equation based which we are doing particularly in school, right? Suppose I have to pay 100 rupees to unsecured creditors also, and on that 100 rupees I need to pay 2% to liquidator also. But I am having in all total 100 rupees only. So what percentage will be there? It will be 100 plus 2. That is Suppose the amount left out is 10,200 rupees. Then the remuneration will included in 10,200 rupees. So your 10,200 includes your amount to be paid to unsecured creditors also and amount to be paid to liquidators remuneration also. So what we will do, 10,200 if it is 102, what will be my 2? Again 10,200 if it is my total amount equals to 102, what will be my 2? You will get 200 answer, that is of liquidators remuneration, and the remaining 10,200 minus 200 is 10,000. So if I vice versa do here, 10,200 if it is 102, what will be my 100? So I will get the answer of amount paid to unsecured creditors. I hope everyone is clear, students. One example for you people, that is VNSGO 2008, 3 mark sums. Now after making the payment to the debenture holders, the liquidator has a balance of 1,29,030 on his hand. The unsecured creditors are rupees 1,65,000. The liquidator is entitled to receive 2% commission on amount paid to unsecured creditors. Compute liquidators remuneration and amount paid to unsecured creditors, right students? So this kind of sums will be there, 3 marks. It is very scoring. You just need to remember the equation which we did just now, right? So we will be solving this sum one by one. 3 things, whenever you are having students this kind of sum, always remember to again bifurcate the details which are given in the sum. What I have been given, first of all I have been given the balance which is left out, that you can see 1,29,030. What is the percentage of LR, that is liquidators remuneration? 2%. And what are the amount of unsecured creditors? 1,65,000. So what I need to do, I need to pay LR also and I need to pay unsecured creditors also out of 129,030, right? So we'll be starting solving it, students. The very first thing, write down the liquidators remuneration. How much? 2%. As we all know, it is 2%. Second thing, write down the total left. As we saw in the equation, the total amount is 100 plus 2, that is 102. Remember students, if the liquidators remuneration is 5%, equation will become 105. If it is 1%, 101. Just keep a simple key in mind that whatever percentage are given, you need to add up in 100. Then only you will be getting it. I hope it is clear. Fine. So total amount left out is 102. Now I will assume, as in the last equation, if my 102 is the total amount left out, that is 129,030. So what will be my 2? So putting it in the same equation, if 129,030 is my 2, is my 102, so what will be my 2? So I will get the answer of 2530 as liquidators remuneration. I hope every student is clear with that. If simultaneously I put up in the equation 129,030 into 100 divided by 102, so I will get the answer of your, we can say, amount paid to unsecured creditors. I hope it is clear, everyone. Any doubt, students? No? Fine. So here what we have done is, you have to add the percentage of liquidators remuneration, that is 100 plus 2%, 102. Assume it with the total amount left out and compare with the actual percentage. So you will get the answer 2530. If I ask you very quickly, what is the unsecured creditors amount? So 129,030 minus 2530. So you will get the answer for unsecured creditors. I hope it is clear, everyone. You can again note it down and then we'll be moving on further. Questions you will be getting it, students, again in advance. This is for short sums that we are practicing. Then we will be having a hands-on session. I will be also solving along with you. Okay, if you are clear with that sum, you will get the answer for your unsecured creditors, that is 126,500 and 2530. This consists of your 3 mark, students. I suppose everyone is clear with that part, very clear. Same type of sums will be repeated in university, just the value changes, right? So 3 marks. Okay students, next sum for you all people. This you need to solve it on your own. After making the payment to the debenture holders, the liquidator has a balance of 83640 on his hand. The unsecured creditors are 152,000. The liquidator is entitled to receive 2% commission on amount paid to unsecured creditors. Compute liquidator's remuneration and amount paid to unsecured creditors. Right now it will be easy for you all students if you have understood the concept. Again, bifurcation of details, 3 things. The very first is the balance which is hold out 83640. What is the percentage of remuneration? 2%. So what I will do, 100 plus 2. If my 102 is 83640, what will be my 2? And if my 102 is 83640, what will be my 100? You can find it out. This sum is for your practice only, students. Three details I will write down in the same way. Liquidator's remuneration is 2%. What is the amount left out? There is 102. Now balance amount is 83640. So what I'll do is I will put up in the same equation. Then I'll get the 1640 as my liquidator's remuneration. Same equation, same thing. Just compare it. Now when we were small in school, we were comparing the CP and SP. If CP is this much, SP will be how much? If CP is this much, profit will be how much? On the base which you are comparing will always be 100. Keep in mind, students. I hope it is clear, each and everyone. Fine. Now the amount to be paid to unsecured creditors will be 83640 minus 1640, 82,000. I suppose everyone must have understood 3 marks. Same type of sums will be there. I'll be giving you practice sums also along with the solution and the answers in Google Classroom so that you can clear your doubts. If any queries you can put up in Google Classroom, we are there to help you out. I suppose students this must be clear. So out of 3 types of short sums which comes from this chapter, we have done one type, similar type only. In the next lecture, we will be completing the other 2 types and then we'll be start solving one long sum which I'll give you in very much advance. I hope everyone is clear with the concepts, the order of payment and the format. You must keep a format ready before the starting of the next corporate lecture so that you can start solving along with me. And you need to keep the questions also ready because I'll be giving you the question in advance and then I'll be start solving directly with the solution part. I hope everyone has understood very clearly. Fine. Thank you for your attention, students. This is Professor Shaurya Shah teaching you Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2 Sybcom Semester 3. Have a good day ahead. Thank you. We'll see you soon in the next lecture.